Hello Internet, my name is James. Welcome to my new setup, different setup. It's going to be temporary. No music today in the background. It's just what I got. This is going to be a collection update for, I know, it's a lot. I'm trying to not spend so much money, but this is the content that I can do. So, here we go. First things first. Crypteria, Blood Angels Cry, from the year 2007, released on Caroline Records, at least in the US. I think it was released on a different record label in Europe. This is just really mid-2000s Gothic kind of power metal. It's kind of symphonic in parts. There's, the choir comes in and out, and some of the songs are a bit more traditionally heavy metal with really just slick, cool, heavy riffing. It's a really good album. I fucking loved this band. They are no longer active. They released their last album in 2011, and I was not super into that. It was a lot more traditional heavy metal. I just wasn't feeling it. And then they went on to do, a lot of the members went on to do a different project called not Her Chariot Waits, that's a different project with Eileen x Sirenia and now in Trail of Tears. Now this is, I don't remember what that project was called. It was more of a progressive rock, kind of progressive metal project. And I never really checked it out, but I should. I don't know. I vaguely remember listening to some of the songs and not thinking it was great. Or at least not for me, I should say. Next up, I have same artist, Crypteria, My Fatal Kiss. This is it's the one after Blood Angels Cry. This came out in 2009. This is their fourth album. They started off as more of like a orchestral musical theater project before deciding to do heavy metal. But even then, their third or second album, I don't know how it works. In Medias Res, 2005's In Medias Res was more of a classical crossover symphonic rock album. Let's just get a good... very pretty. This is the booklet. This is a bit more traditional even from the last album. Just a bit more of a modern heavy metal kind of sound with some cool symphonic orchestration and Gothic tones, but not nearly as committing to that. It's a very modern sounding, very slick production. It's one of these very long fold out booklets. Just really cool stuff. I don't know. I'm not a guitar player, but to me, some of the riffing, what they managed to do, sounds very impressive. It's just really catchy. Just super fucking catchy. And this band, I said that they start off as like a symphonic kind of theater production. I don't really understand it. From what I can tell, it was like you get a bunch of orchestral musicians and like a singer, and then just they put together an hour-long album, which is how they started. And some of the music on these albums are still very musical theater-esque in the singing and the delivery, which I enjoy. I enjoy it a lot. This is my second copy of this ever. As I said in a different video a couple years ago, a lot of my collection at the time was stolen. This is a replacement copy, and I'm one more thing closer to completing what was stolen from me. Let's see, what should I show next? Next I have Dutch band, Orphanage. This is a Dutch Gothic death metal band. Formed in the 90s. It's so old, because, okay, so this is their third album, released in 2000, Nuclear Blast. It was sealed, and it still has mail-in orders, which I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep them forever. I don't know why. I just kind of like that random ass shit. It's like it's timestamp, right? That came in with the album. So this is Dutch band. The singer George Ostek. I don't know how you say that. I think it's George Ostek or Ostek. Did some vocal work for Within Temptation and Delane, and he's in Mayan right now. Well, Mayan, I guess, but they say Mayan. It's fine. It's just, I don't know. It's a very weird kind of aesthetic. It's a little dirtier. This is, I don't know. It's not really what I'd expect out of, a Gothic death metal band. hearing it, here we are. I've tried listening to it. I'm probably just not in the mood for it. I remember really liking this band's material, at least after their first album, and this was just not doing it for me at the time. It's, I don't know. I've never loved George's growls. I think he's fine. It's just something about the tone of it doesn't work, and I think the other vocalist, sorry about that, I heard someone at the door. No. Anyways, and the other vocalist that they got is also not really my favorite. I don't know her name. It's a Beauty and the Beast style. I don't know. It's a band that I know I like, but recently have not been in the mood to listen to. But if you are curious, they came up kind of around the same time, mid-90s, the same time as, like, The Gathering and Within Temptation, and there's a lot of those, like, Death Doom projects that sometimes I have a taste for and sometimes I do not. Yeah, I don't know. Moving on. Next I have At Sixes and Sevens by Sirenia. This is a Norwegian Gothic symphonic metal band at the time of this release, which was released on Napalm Records. Yeah, right? Yeah, Napalm Records in 2002. It was much more of a just straightforward Gothic metal. Back when it was a bit more extreme. It was formed by Morten Veland of Tristania fame, so he was kicked out, I think. If I got that right? He was either kicked out or just left Tristania due to musical and personal reasons. And he formed Sirenia. They are honestly one of the most, probably currently famous symphonic metal bands at the time, currently. But this was a very different time. This was almost 20 years ago. This was a whole different sound for Gothic metal. This was back when it was more extreme. There's a lot of growls. There's almost no clean singing on this. I guess I shouldn't say almost no, because there is quite a bit. It's just not nearly the focus. It's more like he hired a singer to do some vocals here and there. It's just more choirs and growls and like black metal inspired riffing. And for some reason, in the same camp as the Orphanage stuff, I was just not in the mood to listen to this recently. I don't regret getting it because I have been trying to catch up on Sirenia's material. I love the one that came after this, their sophomore album, An Elixir for Existence. That is just one really strong early 2000s Gothic symphonic metal album. Very similar style, just with a bit more symphonic orchestral stuff on it. This doesn't quite go that far. But it is, like, it's very strong material. Just, I haven't been able to give myself to it yet. And that has been, like, I guess the theme of the hour. I also have this, A Whisper of Dew by Mandagora Scream. This is an Italian Gothic metal band, or at least they were a Gothic metal band. Lately their stuff has been more just dark rock, electronic, very, I don't even know, just vampiric and raspy. And it, to be fair, they've always been that way, but now, here is like an actual like metal album with just keyboards and guitar riffs. And I started getting into this band a couple years ago, and at the time, this album just fucking did it for me. I was all over this album. I loved it. Currently, I still enjoy it. It's just not giving me the same feelings that I did back then, where at the time I was into this like really dripping, synthetic soundscapes, dark, creepy castles, witch vibes. It's a concept album, even though I have no idea what the concept is. It's based on a book by an Italian author that I had never heard of. Spanish author. I'd never heard of. It's just, at the time, this is what I wanted. In 2017, this is the kind of shit that I listened to on repeat while I'm reading a book on campus or on the bus. This is what I was listening to constantly. And right now, I just can't really give myself to this one either. And I know, like, in a couple months, I'll change my mind and I'll be right back to loving this. It's just not hitting this spot for me right now. I guess I forgot to mention, this was released on Nuclear Blast in 2003. I think they have their own record label now that they've been releasing stuff. So as they've kind of, like, slowly drifted away from metal and just started doing electronic, dark stuff, they kind of are not beholden to any, label or producers or heads of companies to be like, you need to do it X, Y, and Z way. but this album is really good. I will say though, the vocals can be a little off-putting. They're very raspy, almost speaky. At times, they're very like auto-tuned, and that can be a turn-off for some people. It's like full synthetic, note jumping, shifting, very precise auto-tune vocals, which metalheads sometimes are okay with, and oftentimes are not okay with, and that's just a personal taste thing. Next, I have Downwards by Moonlight. This is the Polish language version on Digipack. This band began as a progressive gothic metal band, and at this point in their career, they had fully shifted to like progressive avant-garde art rock. The second, I don't know, it's just all over the place. It's really weird. It's a lot of cleaner guitars, not nearly as much distortion, but just pure chaos at times, and just weird aesthetic. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, the first song feels normal at first, and then it goes, the ending is just this, like, 007-esque, like, string bit on this, like, really weird beat, and the band instrumentation, it's just strange. It is fun. Like, there's only one album by this band, other than the new one that came out a couple years ago. I haven't listened to that yet. But there's only one album by this band that I've actively been blech about, and it's not this one. It's the one that came before this one. The self-titled. But that's a story for a different day. Next I have As Voices Speak by Azrai. This is a Dutch gothic metal hard rock, almost goth rocky a little bit at times band. Started in the late 80s, I believe, and they didn't release anything early 90s, late 80s. I don't remember exactly when they formed, but this is their debut from 1998. This was released by Poison Ivy Records, and it's a very strange album. First of all, let's just appreciate the color on this tray. So gorgeous. But yeah, I don't know. It's, as much as I like their third album, I have yet to listen to their second one, but as much as I really like their third album, this one is really just strange. It seems like they were not quite sure what they were doing yet, because it's too heavy and too heavy metal inspired to be like a goth rock album, but it's also really dry and not as atmospheric as I'd expect out of a gothic metal album. So this one just seems kind of non-committal, not sure what is happening, and it's not produced particularly well. This is kind of hard to listen to at times, and just the melodies just kind of meander sometimes. But, I'm hoping it'll grow on me. It's one of those albums that I didn't think I'd ever get, and then I found a copy on eBay for pretty cheap. I just hopped on it, and I was like, why not? It's one of those older albums that I get mostly out of obligation. Speaking of, I'm also going to talk about Lacrimas Profunderes' debut album, and The Wings Embraced Us. This is, I know them more as a gothic metal band, right? So let's just get the good, ooh, nice. I know them more as a gothic metal band. This is more of a death doom project that kind of came out of, like, the Peaceful 3, with a little bit more, like, gothic tinges or sounds that would make its way into, at the time, what was gothic metal, like violin solos. Just they brought in that whole like female backing vocal, and I don't know, it's just very amateurish. Whenever the band cuts out completely for like a pause, which happens on a few songs, you can hear like rattling or clacking, like they like whatever ambient noise was in the studio made it onto the recording. And from what I've read, this was supposed to be a demo, and if the band could redo it, they would. Yeah, this is very harsh vocals. Wasn't really expecting that for some reason, because I think of like the singer at the time, Christopher Schmidt, I think was his name, was known, like I knew him as like this really deep, baritone-y, like clean singer, and I was not expecting the low growls here. It was just, threw me for a loop, but I did enjoy it. It's just, it's one of those albums I've got because I was like, well, might as well. It was also not that expensive. And, you know, that's a band that I know, and I've never actually, like, gotten any of their stuff, and maybe this will be my gateway. I've since decided that there is some of their stuff that I really do want to get. This is not necessarily it. Also, as an aside, originally this was released on Gemma, I guess is the name of the record label, but I'm 99% sure that this is a boot. Yeah, it's a very good boot, though. I would never have noticed, or I would never assumed if I didn't, like, have a basic, you know, understanding of how that band works and a little bit of their history. Next, last, actually, I have Icon for Hire's sophomore album, self-titled. This is very different. I love this band. This is, again, a replacement copy. It got a little damaged in transport. Oh well. Replacement copy. I got this originally when it came out in 2013. This is an American alternative rock, alternative metal, 90s hip-hop inspired, dubstep-y, electronic rock. They're just all over the place. It's really poppy, it's really fun, and also really heartfelt, and sometimes a downer. But they do a pretty good job balancing out, like, the sad and the uplifting. It's just really slick, really cool, just fun alt-rock. This was released on Tooth and Nail in 2013. They have since gone independent and have released 1 or 2 albums. I think their 4th album is supposed to be on its way. They've released a single for it. I have yet to listen to it completely. But yeah, so now, actually, no, I still haven't gotten their first album again. I'm still missing that one. It's Scripted, 2011. That was probably that might be my favorite album from 2011. I like this band a lot. But yeah, so not very true cult or whatever. It's just a lot of fun, and I do really enjoy it. And that's what I have for my collection update. Tell me what you think. You know, I guess leave comments. I would like to hear from people. I would like people to see this. But, you know, things happen. I'm trying to, I probably should do some more, like, outreach, community outreach. But I'm not gonna, peddle my stuff places. But yeah, so until next time, I'm signing off.